President Trump's decision to basically drag America into another war in the Middle East without congressional approval. We had a diplomatic agreement with Iran on nuclear proliferation, and President Trump withdrew.
It was a horrible deal. It was a disastrous deal. It was a deal that we all know that would originally allow Iran to be able to have enrichment to the grade that they could make a nuclear weapon. Does anybody doubt that Iran, if or when they got a nuclear weapon, would deliver it to the United States if they have the capability of doing it? Does anybody deny that the fact that the president was being proactive? So what is this grandstanding about? Do you think we should have let the Ayatollah in place? Do you think he was a good guy? Are you defending the Ayatollah now?
Before getting to my questions, I just want to talk briefly about President Trump's decision to basically drag America into another war in the Middle East without congressional approval. The Constitution is very clear for the reason for congressional approval. If you look at the debate during the Constitutional Convention, our founders were very clear that having unconditional power for a president to go into war was a power too great. It reminded them of the king that they had just defeated in the Revolutionary War, and believe that the People's House, the Congress, in Article 1 of the Constitution, should have that power to declare war and to bring those powers into play. As a Navy reservist, former Navy reservist, I served in Bahrain and the UAE, places right now that are under risk. Our service members are under risk in those places for attack. My thoughts are certainly with them. And others serving through the Middle East. I know the thoughts of all American people are with the men and women who are serving in the Middle East as well. But what I am hearing from my constituents is that they do not want to send their sons and daughters to war. That is not something the American people want. In fact, what I hear from them is they want to see costs come down in America. They're paying too much. Costs continue to go up. Trump policies have raised prices. Now we may see spikes in energy prices. They don't want a war. Now, I want to be clear, Iran is a bad actor, and we must ensure that they never, ever produce nuclear weapons. But I also want to be clear, we should remember that we had a diplomatic agreement with Iran on nuclear proliferation, and President Trump withdrew from that agreement during his first term without a plan, and he was basically playing politics. I get it. But now he's sending U.S. forces back to the Middle East to fight in a war, without the support of Congress and without the support of the American people. And that's why the administration must immediately seek congressional approval to make clear to not just to Congress, but more importantly to the American people, that there's an actual end goal and there's an actual strategy to ensure that what he is doing there actually protects our homeland security as opposed to endangering it. So, Mr. Colby, my question for you is, President Trump has provided a number of conflicting reasons for his decision to declare war himself unilaterally on Iran. And at no time did he ever offer any evidence of an imminent attack, as we heard from my colleague, which would be an exception to getting immediate approval if there's an imminent attack. No evidence of that. Sometimes he has stated a goal is regime change. Sometimes it's about eliminating the proxy forces, ballistic missiles, a list of things that he is considering as goals for the program. The president has also stated he is willing to negotiate with the current regime to bring an end to hostilities. But I want to remind you of a discussion we had in January of last year. We met prior to your confirmation hearing, and you shared, and you were very clear, that you did not want to enter another war in the Middle East without a clear purpose and a clear end state. We're not hearing that. I want to hear from you what you think that is. You have been consistent on this point throughout your career. In fact, in some of the articles I have, a recent one, just in 21, just a few short years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, where you said that U.S. military focus on Iran should be dramatically reduced, and requests for additional U.S. forces to, quote, deter Iran should be rejected. You also said Iran can be checked from any plausibility of dominating the Gulf states by supporting theirs and Israel's efforts to check Iran's ambitions. They can do it. You also said Iran draws critical resources, including leadership attention and popular support, from far more important defensive objectives, namely ensuring a favorable and stable balance of power in Asia. So my question for you, sir, is given your strongly held beliefs that you told me face-to-face in my office, and you were very sincere in those efforts, I never would question what you said, do you feel the president has actually articulated a clear purpose and an end state to the American people, as he articulated to the American people, that we need to go to war in Iran?
Well, thank you, Senator. I appreciate the detailed and thoughtful question. I would just say I think the goal, first of all, in terms of your questions on the imminence issue and the legality, I know there's going to be a briefing later today, and I defer to my general counsel and intelligence counterparts to get you the answer you need on that. I do think that the president and the military campaign, the president has directed the military campaign. Obviously, those are not exclusive of the of other goals like his encouragement to the Iranian people to take this opportunity. This is to degrade, and I mentioned some of those things. And in fact, Senator, the Israelis are taking the lead. I mean, it's the Israelis who are conducting a great deal of these operations, and it's the Gulf states that are actually conducting a lot of operations as well, and some of our European partners. And I think you've seen the reaction, not just from regional partners, but countries like Canada, Australia, a number of the German chancellor yesterday. So I think I mean, I'm not on the uniform side, but the Department of War has been provided with, we are going to degrade and destroy the Iranian missile threat, the one-way attack drone threat, and the Navy in particular, and of course, be in a position to deny Iran's ability to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Senator Mullin.
Thank you, Chairman. I just feel like I need to respond to some things that the Senator was bringing up by accusing the President of pulling out of a nuclear deal in his first term. It was a horrible deal. It was a disastrous deal. It was a deal that we all know that would originally allow Iran to be able to have enrichment to the grade that they could make a nuclear weapon. And then for the senator that was saying that the president needs to come back for reauthorization, I don't remember him saying anything in 2016 when Barack Obama at the time dropped 26,000 bombs in Syria, Pakistan, Libya, just to name a few. And I definitely don't remember my colleagues in 2013 at all complaining about the president then Barack Obama, going into Syria. And I would like to ask the question then, what threat did Syria have to the United States? What threat did Libya have to the United States during the Arab Spring to which these leaders were removed? And then I would ask the question, what threat did Iran have to us? Do we really need to talk about it? Do we need to talk about how many times they've killed thousands of Americans since 1979? From the first time they took hostages in November of 1979 to the last time they attacked us in June of 2025? And anybody wants to doubt that they were a threat to us, an essential threat to us? Does anybody doubt on that side of the aisle, does anybody doubt that Iran, if or when they got a nuclear weapon, would deliver it to the United States if they have capability of doing it? Does anybody deny that the fact that the president was being proactive on an adversary that has been chanting death to America since 1979? Does anybody deny that Iran was a threat to us and our service members? Or do we have to remind you how many they've injured and killed through their proxies and through direct action? This is the first president in 7 presidencies that actually did something about the thorn that constantly came after us. And now you criticize him and you say it's illegal? It's not. This same authorization is the same authorization that Democrats and Republican presidents in the past have used. And thank God we had a president with a backbone to finally get rid of this murderous regime. And now we're complaining about it? Remember, legally, he has to respond to Congress or inform Congress in 48 hours. That has happened. And then within 60 to 90 days, he needs to inform Congress if we're going to war and ask for specific war authorities. But the president, through Article 2, clearly has an obligation and the powers under the Constitution to defend our interest home and abroad. And there is no question he's defending our interest. No question. So what is this grandstanding about? Do you think we should have let the Ayatollah in place? Do you think he was a good guy? Are you defending the Ayatollah now? Or aren't you glad that America finally stood up and took care of this murderous regime that's been sponsoring terror around the world for 47 years? How about we say thank you, Mr. President, for finally getting rid of this nuisance, this murderer, this sponsor of terror. He did the world a favor, and the world is a safer place because of it. You may disagree with a lot of his actions. You may disagree with some of his policies, but you can't deny that this was a threat and an essential growing threat to the United States. And you want to say he's playing politics, and you get the politics behind it, Mr. Peters? You guys are playing politics. You guys are the ones that are grandstanding. The president's doing his job as commander-in-chief. And I think at one time or next, we should say thank you. Thank you for being a strong leader. But there's no way in God's green earth you guys can ever give the president, at least President Trump, any credit. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm out. I still got 49 seconds. I got one question. Strategically speaking, Secretary Colby, how is your department working with the Defense? How are you guys directly working with the Department of War on strategies specifically towards Russia with Canada? Is there a strategy there?
Well, thanks, Senator. We're working a lot with our Canadian partners. They're one of the countries that really does need to step up. Canada has an incredibly storied and proud military history. I always point out they were in all the years of World War I and World War II. I think they had the fourth largest Navy at the end of World War II. They had their own beach at D-Day. But frankly, the Canadian Armed Forces, and if you talk to them, they've really kind of dismantled, particularly since the end of the Cold War, even a bit before. So we're trying to get more Canada. We've actually engaged with them extensively. The Secretary and I met with Minister McGuinty a few months ago, and we've been in constant contact or continuing contact with them with a sense of where we think they need to go, not only to meet NATO targets, but also for homeland defense as part of NORAD, potential for Golden Dome, these other kinds of things. But we're really looking very carefully at Canada to make sure that they're stepping up in line with collective defense and what everybody in NATO is doing.
Thank you.